Welcome, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Let's dive into today's story. I still remember the first time I met Grace. It was our freshman year in college, during a study group for our shared history class. She was sitting near the back of the room, scribbling notes in a way that looked both frantic and organized. I couldn't take my eyes off her, her warm smile, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was concentrating. We hit it off almost immediately, starting as friends, but soon becoming inseparable. By second year, I knew she was the one. Grace had this way of making the world feel less overwhelming, of turning the mundane into something special. We'd spend late nights in the library, joking about our professors, dreaming about the future, and supporting each other through the chaos of college life. By the time we graduated, I was more certain about her than I'd ever been about anything else. After college, life got busy. I started my career in marketing at a fast-paced firm, and Grace pursued her dream of becoming a school counselor. Even with the demands of our jobs, we found time for each other. A year after I landed my first promotion, I proposed during a quiet weekend getaway. I still remember her tears of joy and how she said yes before I could even finish my question. We were married a year later, surrounded by the people we loved most. The first few years of our marriage were everything I hoped for. Grace and I built a life together, welcoming 3 incredible kids along the way. Ethan, our oldest, is 9 now and full of energy. He's always kicking a soccer ball around. Lily, 7, has this amazing creative streak. She's constantly drawing or crafting something. And then there's Emily, our little whirlwind at 3, who has a laugh that could brighten anyone's day. From the outside, our life looked perfect. But if I'm being honest, cracks started forming after Emily was born. My job demanded longer hours, and Grace was overwhelmed managing the kids and her own career. We started drifting apart. Our conversations became shorter, more transactional, about schedules, bills, or the kids. We were like 2 ships passing in the night, too tired to connect the way we used to. I didn't handle it the way I should have. Instead of addressing the growing distance between us, I looked for escape. One night, scrolling through an online forum, I stumbled into a conversation with a woman named Olivia. She was 34, lived 2 hours away, and seemed to understand my frustrations in a way that felt effortless. At first, it was just talking, harmless, I told myself, but the messages became more frequent, more intimate. And then, one day, I suggested we meet in person. Those meetings became a secret I carried for 3 months. Olivia and I would meet at a hotel halfway between her town and mine, spending hours in a bubble that felt far removed from the stresses of my real life. Each time, I told myself it didn't mean anything, that it wouldn't affect my family as long as Grace never found out. But deep down, I knew better. The illusion shattered on a rainy Saturday afternoon. I'd met Olivia as usual, and we were walking out of the hotel together, laughing about something trivial. That's when I saw her, Grace. She was sitting in the lobby, her eyes locked on me. I'll never forget the look on her face. It wasn't just anger. It was hurt, betrayal, disbelief. My heart sank. I muttered something to Olivia, but Grace had already turned and walked out. That night, I begged her to let me explain, but there was no explaining what I'd done. The next morning, she packed her bags, took the kids, and left. I watched them drive away, knowing I had destroyed the life we'd built together. The next 8 months were a nightmare. Grace and the kids moved in with her sister, and I stayed in our empty house. Our children bore the brunt of our fractured relationship. Ethan, our 9-year-old, struggled the most. He began acting out at school, his grades slipping as he grappled with the sudden upheaval of his stable family life. Lily, at just 7, withdrew into herself, her usually cheerful disposition replaced by a quiet sadness. She no longer drew the bright, happy picture she used to. Instead, Her art became darker, filled with lonely figures and rainy skies. Emily, only 3, didn't understand why Mommy and Daddy weren't together anymore. She'd frequently ask when we'd all be back home together, her innocent questions breaking my heart every time. During those months, I tried everything to repair the damage I'd caused. Therapy became a lifeline for me, a place where I could confront my actions and work on becoming a better man. I stayed close to the kids, making sure they knew I loved them and was there for them, even if our family didn't look the same anymore. I also began reaching out to Grace, cautiously and respectfully, hoping to rebuild some semblance of trust. Our early conversations were fraught with tension. I would speak, and she would sit in silence, her eyes filled with a mixture of pain and skepticism. But over time, we started having longer conversations, first about the children, then about ourselves. It felt like a small step forward. Eventually, Grace brought up the possibility of reconciliation. I was elated. Despite everything, I loved her deeply and wanted nothing more than to repair our marriage. But the terms she laid out shook me to my core. She told me that since she believed our lackluster sex life had driven me to cheat, she thought the only way forward was to open the marriage. This way, she said, her voice calm but firm, if you feel the need to stray again, it won't destroy us. And I can have the freedom to explore as well. I was stunned. I tried to assure her that I had learned from my mistakes, that I had no desire to hurt her or our family again. Grace, I pleaded, I don't want anyone else. I only want you. I know what I did was unforgivable, but I've changed. Please, let's work on us. But she wouldn't budge. Her trust in me had been shattered. And this was the only way she felt we could move forward without her constantly fearing another betrayal. I resisted the idea for weeks. The thought of her with someone else filled me with dread. I imagined her smiling, laughing, and being vulnerable with another man, a thought that made my stomach churn. But Grace was resolute. This isn't about revenge, David, she said. Eventually, I relented, though not without a heavy heart. The rules were simple. We wouldn't discuss the details. No names, no times, no places. The when, where, and with whom were off limits. It was a way to shield ourselves from the full reality of what we were agreeing to. I convinced myself it was a temporary arrangement, that once we healed, the need for this openness would fade. 2 years have passed since we decided to reconcile. On the surface, things seem normal. To our friends and family, we're the same couple we've always been. We laugh together, host dinner parties, and attend our children's school events as a united front. The kids are happier now that we're all under one roof again, and for their sake, I put on a brave face. But inside, I'm dying a little more each day. Every time I see Grace happy, her radiant smile, her carefree laugh, I can't help but wonder if her joy is because of someone else. Is she thinking of me when she's smiling, or is her mind on another man? She's a stunningly beautiful woman, and I know she has no shortage of admirers. The thought of her in someone else's arms torments me. Whenever she comes home and heads straight for the shower, my mind spirals. Is she washing away the scent of someone else? When she turns down my advances, is it because she's already satisfied by someone else? The not knowing, the silence about what she does or doesn't do, gnaws at me like a persistent, invisible wound. I hate myself for thinking this way, but I can't stop. I've tried to suppress my jealousy, to remind myself that I agreed to this arrangement. But the truth is, I feel trapped. I thought I could handle the openness, that it would fade into the background as we healed. Instead, it's become a constant shadow over our relationship. I know Grace doesn't flaunt her newfound freedom. She's discreet and respectful, just as we agreed. But that doesn't make it easier. Every time she walks out the door looking particularly stunning, my mind fills with questions I'll never ask. And when she comes home, I'm haunted by what I might never know. I don't blame Grace for any of this. I was the one who broke us, the one who planted the seed of doubt that now blooms in her mind. I see the effort she puts into rebuilding our relationship, and I know she's trying in her own way. But I also see how guarded she's become, how the openness she insisted on is a shield she uses to protect herself from ever feeling as vulnerable as she did that day in the hotel lobby. When we started talking about reconciliation, I thought agreeing to her terms, her insistence on an open marriage, was the right way to show my commitment to making things work. It felt like a path to redemption, a way to repair the irreparable damage I had done. But now, 2 years into this arrangement, I realize I've simply traded one torment for another. The kids, of course, don't know the full story. They believe what we told them, that mommy and daddy needed some time apart, but that we're okay now. Their innocence shields them from the darker reality of our marriage. Ethan's behavior has improved. He's more focused at school now, and I can see him slowly regaining his confidence. Lily has started drawing bright pictures again, her world filling with sunshine and happy faces. Even little Emily no longer asks when we'll all live together again. To them, we're a happy family again, and I remind myself daily that this is why I agreed to this arrangement in the first place for them. But no matter how much I focus on the kids, the weight of what I don't know about Grace's life outside of us suffocates me. Last weekend, she told me she was going out for a girls' night. She kissed me on the cheek as she left, looking radiant in her black dress. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to trust that this was what she said it was. But when she came home late, her hair slightly disheveled and a faint smile lingering on her lips, I couldn't stop my mind from spiraling. I swear I could smell a trace of cologne that wasn't mine, faint but distinct. She slipped into the shower without saying much, and I stayed up in the living room, pretending to read while my stomach churned with unease. I hate how much I analyze everything now. Every small detail feels like a clue to a mystery I'm not sure I want to solve. When she rejects my advances, I can't help but wonder if it's because she's already been with someone else. When she's unusually cheerful, I question if it's her natural bubbly self or if someone else is the source of her joy. It's exhausting, this constant second-guessing, this endless loop of paranoia that I can't seem to break. I tried to bring up the idea of closing the marriage again, hoping we've reached a point where trust can begin to rebuild. I've told her I don't need anyone else, that I've learned from my mistakes, that I only want her. But every time I broach the subject, she shuts it down immediately. The divorce card is always on the table, a silent threat that keeps me from pressing the issue too hard. "You agreed to this, David," she says, her voice calm but firm. "This is the only way I can stay." Her words cut deep because I know she's right. I'm the one who broke us, who planted the seed of doubt in her mind. She gave me a second chance, but it came with a price. And now, I'm trapped in the very arrangement I thought would save us. I don't blame Grace for wanting this. I betrayed her in the worst way possible, and she's doing what she needs to do to protect herself. But knowing that doesn't make it any easier. I want to trust her, to believe that our love is enough to carry us through this. But the reality is, I don't know if we'll ever fully recover. I don't know if I'll ever stop wondering, and I don't know if she'll ever fully trust me again. Every time I see her heading out the door, dressed beautifully and radiating confidence, my mind spirals into dark places. I imagine her with someone else, laughing, sharing secrets, and being vulnerable in ways she used to be with me. It's a torment I wouldn't wish on anyone, yet it's one I brought upon myself. The worst part is knowing that, despite everything, I still love her deeply. I still see the woman I fell in love with in college, the one who stuck by me through years of building our careers and raising our family. I want to be the man she deserves, the one who can make her feel safe and loved again. But the open marriage feels like a wall between us, a barrier I can't break through. I can't prove anything, and the uncertainty gnaws at me like a slow, relentless tide eroding the shore. I've debated confronting Grace countless times, rehearsing the words in my head, imagining her reaction. But every time I come close, fear holds me back. Not fear of her anger, though I know it would be justified, but fear of what she might say. What if she tells me she's happier now? What if she admits that someone else makes her feel alive in ways I never did? I don't know if I could survive hearing those words. Sometimes I wonder if this is my punishment. Maybe I deserve to live with this gnawing uncertainty, to feel the sharp edges of the trust one shattered cutting into me every day. It's a cruel irony. I was the one who broke us, and now I'm the one struggling to endure the consequences. Grace's actions, whatever they may be, are no different from what I did to her. She's simply following the rules of the arrangement I agreed to, an arrangement born of my betrayal. And yet, the thought of her with someone else fills me with a pain I can't even begin to describe. There are moments when I convince myself that I'm okay, that I can handle this. I focus on the kids, on work, on anything that distracts me from the turmoil inside. But then, something will happen. A lingering smile on Grace's face, a sudden rejection of my touch, and the doubt floods back, drowning me. I replay our history in my mind, the life we've built together, the promises we made. Is this how it's supposed to be? Is this what working through it looks like? The therapist I've been seeing tells me I need to be honest with her, to open up about how I'm feeling. But how can I? Every honest conversation feels like a gamble, a game of Russian roulette where one wrong word could bring our fragile reconciliation crashing down. The last thing I want is to push her away again, to risk losing the family we've worked so hard to rebuild. But the weight of pretending I'm okay, pretending everything is fine, is slowly unraveling me. The nights are the hardest. I lie awake next to her, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with questions I'm too afraid to ask. Is she thinking about me, about us? Or is her mind elsewhere, with someone else? I try to remind myself of the good moments, the times when we laugh together, when we play with the kids, when she looks at me with warmth instead of the cold distance I feared would never fade. But those moments feel fleeting, overshadowed by the constant hum of doubt in the back of my mind. Last week, we were cleaning up after dinner when she suddenly laughed at something one of the kids said. Her laugh was so carefree, so genuine, and for a moment, I let myself believe that everything was okay. But then she caught my gaze, and her expression shifted. Just slightly, but enough for me to notice. Was it guilt? Or was it just my imagination, twisting every interaction into something darker? I hate what this has done to me, to us. I hate the person I've become, paranoid, insecure, unable to trust. But more than anything, I hate that I brought this on myself. Grace didn't ask for this. She didn't choose this life. I forced it upon her with my selfishness, with my betrayal. And now, I'm reaping what I sowed. The kids, thank God, seem to be doing better. Ethan's been excelling in his soccer games, and Lily's drawings are as vibrant as ever. Emily is starting to string together full sentences, her little voice filling the house with warmth. Their happiness should be enough to sustain me, to remind me of why I'm fighting so hard to keep this family together. But even their smiles can't silence the doubts in my head. Sometimes, I catch Grace watching me when she thinks I'm not looking. Her eyes are unreadable, a mix of emotions I can't decipher. Is she happy? Is she still angry? Does she regret giving me another chance? I wish I could ask her, but I don't know if I'm ready for the answers. I know I can't live like this forever. Something has to give. Either I find the courage to have that honest conversation, or I continue down this path of quiet suffering, hoping that time will heal wounds that feel impossibly deep. But what scares me most is the alternative, The possibility that the only way to truly move forward is to let go, to walk away from the life we've built together. For now, I keep going one day at a time, trying to hold on to the hope that things will get better. I don't know what the future holds for us, but I do know one thing. I still love her. And as long as there's even the faintest chance of rebuilding what we've lost, I'll keep fighting for it, even if it's killing me inside. If this story had you hooked, make sure to like, share, and leave a comment below with your thoughts. What would you have done in this situation? And don't forget to subscribe for more unbelievable stories that will keep you coming back for more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.